Now this is our E92 M3. Now originally this was a demo car so we could make some new products, but we ended up loving it that much we've actually kept it as our track car and we now compete in time attack with it. Now it's been a while since we've done any upgrades to the M3, so we thought it'd be a good time to give it a new fresh look and hopefully lose some weight in the meantime. So we've actually got some vented front wings and a vented front bonnet as well, and today we're going to install them. Now even though we are removing these original front wings, we still don't want to scratch them as they'll be worth nothing. So we're going to tape them up with masking tape, and while we're there we're going to tape up the A-pillar as well. So first we're going to remove the original bonnet, which is quite easy. It's just two 13mm on each side. Now this bonnet is really light, but to stop you smashing the windscreen or anything else, make sure you get a friend to help you. Now if you've ever worked with fiberglass parts before, you'll know that they are never perfect and they are always hard to install because nothing ever really lines up well. Now on this fiberglass bonnet here, it didn't come with pre-drilled holes or any threads to bolt to the bonnet, so we're going to have to put them in ourselves using riv nuts. Now putting riv nuts in fiberglass is difficult, but it is doable. The fiberglass obviously isn't that strong, so if you put the riv nut as far as it will go, it will most likely pull out the fiberglass. So you have to be pretty patient with this and just understand the feel of a rivet so you don't pull that fiberglass through. So we've decided to install the bonnet first, and this is so we can line it up against the original wings as best as possible. Now this is an aftermarket part and it will never fit as well as an OEM one, so it's going to be a lot of faffing around, coming up and down, and just slight movements to get it to line up with the wings as equal as possible on each side. Now with this being a fiberglass bonnet, the original bonnet catch is not going to work on this, so you have to install bonnet catches or aero catches. You have to drill these into the bonnet themselves, and you also have to find somewhere to mount them to the bodywork on the car, which can be a bit of a tricky job. Now the trickiest part is finding somewhere to put the thread for the bonnet catches. Now we're not going to be using the original catches anymore because it's a fiberglass bonnet, so we can actually remove these, and that gives us a nice flat strong piece of material to drill a hole through and put the catches for the bonnet. And if they're here, that actually lines up quite well with a flat bit on the fiberglass bonnet. You kind of want the bonnet sitting nice and flat, and you want a flat surface for the bonnet to sit on the catch. So this is looking like our best bet. There isn't a perfect place because we have to try to avoid the vents on the bonnet as well, but this is the best option that we've seen. So we're not going to be using the original bonnet catches, so we can actually remove these, and this is going to leave a hole which we can just make a little bit bigger for our new threads for the new bonnet catches to sit through and bolt through. Now once the threaded latch is all bolted down and tight, we need to know exactly where that's going to pass through the bonnet, and then we need to make a hole so the threaded latch can actually pass up into the bonnet so we have something to latch it to. Now this is where that you hope you drilled in the right place so the actual aero catch itself can sit on a flat bit and not intervene with any of the vent or any of the lines of the bonnet. And in this case, we did a pretty good job. Now we just got to get the right angle. Now once you've got the right angle, you want to trace around it with a Sharpie. And now I had to do this twice because I forgot to put masking tape down. It's just a lot easier to cut through masking tape. And you want to get a Dremel and a few different tools. So I like to get the rough shape done with a cutting disc on a Dremel. And to get the edges and the circles, I like to use a flapping wheel on a Dremel. Now it's better to do a little bit and just keep taking off more and more, because the worst thing you want to do is take off too much and the aero catch doesn't bolt to the bonnet. The aero catch actually bolts down using a clamp method, so it's two bits of plastic, one designed to go either side of the bonnet, so you might have to cut underneath the bonnet to open up a gap to fit the other side of the clamp. And once you know everything is in the correct position, you can actually get a drill and you can drill through the bonnet for a place for the bolts to go through to the other side of the clamp. And once you've got them done, you can actually remove the masking tape and you can start bolting everything up together. And to aesthetically tidy it all up, I like to get a flapping wheel on a Dremel, and you can just tidy up all of them cuts that you made earlier. This just makes it look like it's actually meant to be there and not just some guy's gone at it with a Dremel, which is what we did. And what you'll find is you'll actually be able to do the other side around 10 times quicker now you know where you're drilling and that you've already used to the process. Now with the bonnet all installed and lined up to the original wings, it's actually time to remove the wings. Now in my opinion, this is massively overcomplicated and I can't believe how long it takes to remove these. hoping that I don't need to fully remove the side skirt. I'm hoping that with this just popped off like this, I can just slip a ratchet behind or a spanner behind and take those two 10mm off the bottom of the wing at the front, because I do not want to be going underneath the car and trying to take the side skirt off whilst it's up on the ramp. Now luckily you don't have to fully remove the side skirt to access to these lower bolts at the bottom of the wing, but it's definitely not easy, and the smaller ratchet you've got here, the better. I even found it hard to get some spanners in there, so this was a very fiddly part of the job. Now doing these wings was the part I was least looking forward to. There are multiple points of bolt holes on these wings, and if one is slightly out, it's going to mess up the alignment of the wing totally, and you can't be fully sure which bolt is out. So there is lots of going back and forth trying to make these fit, and when they're aftermarket like this, there's no guarantee that they will, and you have to, 9 times out of 10, you have to modify the product yourself to make it fit your application. And this is usually due to the molds of the fiberglass. They usually come out with imperfections, but when you're talking body lines having to be perfect millimeters all the way up, those imperfections can be rather annoying. Like all the way down the front of the wing here, there were little tiny bumps, and that was stopping the bonnet from closing smoothly. But the biggest issue with this side is that the wing is not designed around the original brake vacuum pump. So with this in the way, the wing is never going to sit right, so we're going to have to relocate this in the future. So with that vacuum pump in the way, there's no point me trying to make that wing fit nicely until we've moved it. So it's time to move on to the other side and hope we don't have any issues on this side. And as soon as we go to put the wing up, we run into our first problem. This wing is not designed to go around the original screen wash bottle, so we're going to have to remove that as well. And as we place up the wing with the screen wash bottle remover, it's actually sitting quite well. There are some places that we are going to have to Dremel down as they are touching the A-pillar and we're a little bit tight on the door, but it's workable. So after a little bit of shaving down where the wing meets the A-pillar and a little bit more trimming where it meets the front bracket, it's actually starting to look pretty flush, and I think we're actually going to make this side look pretty bang on. Now another downside about these wings, it doesn't actually come with the bracket that's needed to bolt it on to the body itself. So we've actually had to reuse these by making a bit of a cut at the bottom so we can slide them out, but that way we can still put them back in if we ever revert to the original wings again. And then it's just a case of marking up all the bolt holes on the car at the right angle that we want the wing, and once we've drilled all those, we can actually bolt it all together and see how close it all looks. So whilst you've still got the masking tape on, this is a great time to try and perfect those body lines. It's a case of loosening the bolts and just making slight movements with the wing until you're happy with the body line all the way down, and then tightening each bolt as you go, and once you remove the masking tape, you can see your final result. Now you might be thinking, there is a hole there that wasn't there before, what's been going on off camera? Well, I did try to actually fit the M3 insert, so I did drill a hole ready for the main bulk of it, but we have decided to order a second set of these so we can try to make them fit, as this fiberglass part, or this fiberglass wing, doesn't have any of the slots for the clips to clip into, so we're going to have to make that work too. Now with that driver's side wing lining up really nice, I decided to just remove the brake vacuum pump to see if we can get the passenger side nice and tight too. And all that leaves us left to do is to find a place to relocate this, and after we've installed those original plastic side vents and the bonnet vents, the whole thing is going to be done. And as you can see, the car is totally transformed. We took it down to Paul at the APM body shop. Not only did he paint match it perfectly and blended it into the doors, he also took the time to put mesh behind all of the vents as well. And there was even some more additional sanding done to make sure the panels fit perfect like OEM. And with the final touch of the indicators being installed, that is our completed M3.